Ballots and Power. Inside California's Election Security Alert News Narrative by journalist John L. Farmer. When trust is tested, my name is John L. Farmer. And tonight we are not just talking about ballots. We are talking about trust, because in a democracy, a ballot is more than paper. It is a voice, a decision, a piece of power. And now, in the state of California, that power is at the center of a growing investigation. Authorities are looking into a Republican sheriff, accused of seizing more than 500,000 ballots from the 2025 election. 500,000. Just let that number sit for a second. Chapter 1. The discovery. It didn't start with a press conference. It started with questions. Why were ballots missing? Why were counts delayed? Why did certain numbers not match expectations? And then, the discovery. Ballots, hundreds of thousands of them, had been taken into custody, not by election officials, but by a sheriff's office. Chapter 2. The role of a sheriff. Let's understand something. A sheriff is a powerful position. Elected, armed, responsible for law enforcement at the county level, but not responsible for running elections. That's where the line is supposed to be. And that's why this story matters. Because that line may have been crossed. Chapter 3. What we know so far. Authorities say over 500,000 ballots were seized from locations tied to the 2025 election. The justification? Still unclear. Some claims suggest investigation into voter fraud. Others say it was an overreach. And right now, facts are still being gathered. Chapter 4. The word seized. That word matters. Seized. Not collected. Not secured. Seized. It implies force, authority, urgency, and possibly controversy. Chapter 5. The timing. Why now? Why after the election? Why not before certification? Timing is everything in elections, because once votes are cast, they are supposed to follow a strict chain of custody. Break that chain, and trust begins to break with it. Chapter 6. The investigation. State authorities have stepped in. Legal teams reviewing actions. Election officials asking questions, because this isn't just about one county, it's about precedent. Chapter 7. The political climate. Let's be honest. We are living in a time where elections are no longer just events. They are battlegrounds, debated, challenged, questioned, and sometimes undermined. Chapter 8. The sheriff's position. Supporters of the sheriff say he was doing his job, investigating potential fraud, protecting election integrity. They argue, if something felt wrong, action was necessary. Chapter 9. The opposition view. Critics say this was an abuse of power, an unauthorized seizure, a dangerous move that threatens democracy itself. Because if law enforcement can take ballots, what stops it from happening again? Chapter 10. The scale of the issue. 500,000 ballots. That's not a small number. That's entire communities, entire districts, entire voices, and every single one of those ballots represents a person. Chapter 11. The chain of custody. Elections depend on process. Ballots are tracked, stored, verified, handled under strict rules, because once that chain is broken, questions begin. Chapter 12. The legal questions. Was the seizure legal? Was there a warrant? Was there probable cause? Did the sheriff have authority? These questions will define this case. Chapter 13. The national impact. This isn't just a California story. This is a national story. Because if it can happen here, people will ask, can it happen anywhere? Chapter 14. The public reaction. People are watching closely. Some are angry. Some are confused. Some are concerned. Because elections are supposed to be certain. And right now, certainty feels distant. Chapter 15. The media's role. Stories like this spread fast, but facts move slower. And as journalists, we have to separate noise from truth, because misinformation can do as much damage as any action. Chapter 16. The history of election disputes. This isn't the first time elections have been challenged, but it is one of the most unusual scenarios, because rarely do we see ballots physically seized at this scale. Chapter 17. The question of intent. Why were the ballots taken? To investigate, to secure, to challenge. Intent matters, because it shapes how this story is understood. Chapter 18. What happens next? The investigation continues. Evidence reviewed, statements collected, legal actions possible. Because this isn't over. Not even close. Chapter 19, the future of election security. This moment will lead to change. New rules, stronger protections, clearer boundaries. Because systems evolve when they are tested. Chapter 20, final reflection at its core. This story is simple. Ballots were taken, questions were raised, and now answers are demanded. Because democracy depends on one thing above all: trust. Taro, the weight of a vote. This is John L. Farmer, reporting on a story that goes beyond politics, beyond parties, beyond headlines. Because at the center of all this is a simple idea: every vote matters, and how those votes are handled matters just as much.